there, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Dev Brew. This is where indie developers submit their game and I do my best to give feedback on their game design. My name is Devon, and welcome to Games Over More Coffee, which is what this channel is. This show that we're doing is Dev Brew, and if you're new here, this is something interesting, right? If you're new here, this is welcome. What we do here is we talk about game design. This is Games Over More Coffee, which is a separate channel from Games Over Coffee, my main channel, what that logo over there is for. And as you can see here, this is the game we're talking about today, but I just want to, let me bring myself into here. Hi there. I wanted to show you, this is my main channel here. This is Games Over Coffee, and this is my website, gamesover.coffee. So this is my main stuff. That's where we do most of the stuff, but today we are focusing on chess survivors for Dev Brew. Anyway, so I just wanted to get that out of the way in case you were new here and you were confused as to what the heck this all is. So let me play this footage here. This is gameplay that I'd played chess survivors already, so that's what you're going to be watching here. So first things first, I want to talk about why we're talking about this game in the first place. So Dev Brew, in its inception, and what the story, what my channel here is about, what this show is about deconstructing game design from indie games and basically how to improve your game design. And mostly whenever someone submits a game to me, that's what the whole thing is about. They'll fill out a little form that I give them, and it says about like what kind of player experience do you want, what were you most proud of, what were you least proud of, stuff like that. And sometimes people don't really have the right idea when they submit a game to me, and that's kind of why I had to filter out some games before, and why I'm only doing 2 a month now as opposed to like a lot more that I did before. But yeah, typically when people submit a game, it's because there's something in the game design that they want improved, or at least they're not sure where to take the game from that point. And the reason why I'm talking about all this is because this game, Chess Survivors, oh, my camera just wanted to restart. Here we go. Okay, so talking about this game, Chess Survivors, by Aramis. Thank you, by the way, Aramis, for submitting this game. This video is to you, so if I'm talking past whoever else is watching this is the way this works. I'm just talking to the developer. But I wanted to say that regularly, like I said, we talk about game design that might be broken or something. Whereas this game, it does not seem like the game design is broken. And I think mainly Aramis wanted to submit this game to me because it was just something to do, because someone in their Twitch chat said that they were going to they said, hey, why don't you submit your game to this guy? And so that's what he did. And so now that's what we have. So I'm still going to talk about the game design. I just don't have like a real thing about how to improve it, because I really do think this game is pretty much good the way it is. I mean, it seems complete, or it seems like a complete idea at least. But I do want to talk about that idea and what the experience entails. So in the submission form, what Aramis had said was, I'd like to capture the fun and simplicity of an arena survival game, but with some skill and expression from playing chess. So, what does that mean exactly? If we think about that sentence, I'd like to capture the fun and simplicity of an arena survival game, but with some skill and expression from playing chess. So I like the idea of adding a skill expression, what you're saying, skill expression. I really like that term. I usually call it mechanical expression, but it's the same thing. It's from, it's the idea of the player expressing themselves through the game's mechanics. So I really like that idea. What's happening here, as you can see in the gameplay, we have a movement mechanic that is basically chess. It's just us moving, and he's invented a piece here, which is pretty cool. We're like a jester that can only move in one direction, but in all around. So I guess that's the king, isn't it? Huh? Well, that's the king's move. Anyway, as you're moving around, you collect these little tokens that can expand your moveset, as you see right there. I just got whatever piece that was, and and now I have expanded moves. So it's interesting. I really like this idea. It's a really cool idea. The arena survival game is something that I've not really been, that I've not really understood, and apparently it's we need to my laptop is playing this music out loud here. Yeah, so apparently this is what it's based off of. This is Vampire Survivors. This is not a game that I've played before, but this is my first time playing it, as you can see right there. If we can skip forward a little bit. But I did actually play a game that was a clone of this game called Dope Mine Arena, which I covered previously. That was my first time playing one of these survival, arena survival games, or a bullet heaven game, I guess you could call it. Chess Survivors is not a bullet heaven game, but this game did inspire that game, so I did want to talk about this a little bit. This is, it's interesting to think about this kind of fun and simplicity of an arena survival, because when I think about survival games in an arena sense, I think about Geometry Wars, or I think about Devil Daggers, games that are basically just in one room, right? That you're basically defending and surviving by using your weapons, by offensive techniques. So defense by offense, and that's like actually one of my favorite types of games to play. I really do like the arcadey nature of just going all out offense, trying to defend yourself by destroying as much as possible. But Vampire Survivors does something different with that mechanic, and it's because usually in these arena type games you have the skill expression, as it were, is a thing that the player does, right? It's something that they're doing throughout the game, so it's the action that they're doing. So in Devil Daggers, it's a first person shooter where you're throwing daggers a whole lot, and that's all the game is. You got to survive all this onslaught of crazy demonic monsters chasing after you by throwing as much daggers as you can. Geometry Wars is about shooting all these crazy shapes, basically, with your ship. That's what the skill expression is. This, however, in Vampire Survivors, is about not exactly that, because you don't have direct control over your weapons, because your weapons are automatically shooting. And so because of that, wow, this guy sucks at that game, dude. What the heck? Let's go to let's go to my chess one. So anyway, so because of that nature of Vampire Survivors, where it's automatically shooting for you all the time, let's get to some exciting gameplay. There we go. Because of that automatic shooting, that skill expression is taken away from you, and you don't really get to express yourself in the shooting style. So instead, in Vampire Survivors, what you're doing is you're expressing yourself by way of strategic evasion, basically. That's what you're doing. And this idea of strategic evasion is really interesting when you bring it into a chess sense. So the idea of fun and simplicity in an arena survival game can be different depending on the arena survival game. And Vampire Survivors, being the inspiration for this game, I think shows that this idea of strategic evasion is kind of the thing that we want to do, that we want to build up toward. If you look at Vampire Survivors, I'll bring this up here. The things that they do in their gameplay challenge the player's evasion. So if you can see here, I mean, the enemies that are attacking are just on all sides almost all the time, but they also have these other things that happen, which, let's see if I can get to something that's more interesting here. Yeah, like this right here. This is like a circle of plant monsters that just kind of appear, and what happens here is it's challenging your ability to be able to stay within the circle and not die. Basically, you have to move your character around this whole area so that you don't, so that you can survive. Basically, right? That's what it's all about. And then they have more things like the groups of bats that come that are really fast. Anyway, all these things that zero in on the idea of strategic evasion. So that's basically what I'm trying to say here. So with that, I wanted to figure out what this person is trying to do. Aramis's game with chess moves, because what does this game introduce to the formula, and how does it change the things that we're talking about? So the fun and simplicity of strategic evasion, what is that? How is that offered in this game? And I think the way that it's changed is that it's made this a lot more strategic, for one. And that's kind of a weird thing, because usually those types of games are really fast-paced, or somehow they're not twitchy per se, but they are, well, I don't know. When I think about Robotron, right? Robotron 2048 or 2084, and Geometry Wars and Devil Daggers, I think about more twitchy controls, and I guess they are twitch shooters in a way. But then I think about, Vampire Survivors, and that's not a twitchy game at all. I mean, it is more fast-paced, though. And then so I look at this game, and this is a much slower-paced game. It is timed, right? You have a certain amount of turns that you can do, and there's a little timing circle that you have to, take your turn before the little circle ends. And I think that's all interesting. And it does push the game forward, but the game is far slower than the other arena games. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just, it's different. This is what we're changing in the ecosystem here. And I want to know what that does to the fun of the game, because if the fun and simplicity of the other arena games had to do with how fast they were, then does that mean that this game is not fun? I wouldn't say that, but that's something to think about. When I played this game, I think the most fun that I had with it was when I was when my strategy worked, basically, when I had like a weapon that would shoot 2 spaces over, and so I would go over to a piece that was two paces over, and then I would be able to kill that piece before it got too close to me. When I felt like I outsmarted the enemy, that's when it felt really interesting. Whereas, in Vampire Survivors, you don't have that kind of outsmarting the enemy kind of thing. So that, I think, is where this game really shines. So that skill expression that you talk about with playing chess, I think that's where this game really does shine. And I think actually what slows it down a little bit is the idea of the arena survivor. Basically, it's the idea that you have to push forward. Because if I could pause for a second, and look at all of my ways that I could go, and if I could strategize in my mind about, okay, well, first I'm going to go this way, then I'm going to go up and go left. Like, if I could just sit there, wait, and strategize for a little bit, I think that would feel a lot better than have this slightly more twitchy control that we seem to have here. So that's my advice for that. One thing that I also wanted to talk about was, what do you hope to achieve with this game? There's a lot of game design out there that has to do with the person who develops the game thinks of an idea that they want to do, and they say, hey, let's make that game because it would be interesting to make. And I do think that's basically what happened here, right? Is that you looked at Vampire Survivors and thought, well, I asked you actually on your Twitch, you looked at Vampire Survivors and you thought, hey, that sounds like a fun game that I could make. And so you make that game, but then you put your own spin on it. And I think that's cool, but what did you do there? you don't really have, as far as I know, you don't really have a end goal with that. You just kind of made something and decided to try to figure it out as you go along, which, to be fair, is something that game developers have to do anyway, right? Playtesting is a thing that you got to do in order to develop a game. I mean, I always come back to the story of Super Mario 64, right, where Miyamoto had to make Mario as a character first, make a little bit of a world. I mean, this is where prototyping comes in, right, where he has to see how this character runs and how he hops and how he moves and everything, and then create challenges from there. But the idea is that you have to keep prototyping until you find the core, the game loop that you want, and then you're like, oh, that's it. That's what I want to do. And then you go on from there. So it is necessary, is what I'm saying, to create a game without a design in mind first. But then once you have that design in mind, to capitalize on it, to keep going forward with it and try to figure out what it is that you want to achieve from there. And so for this thing, I can see there's a lot of design that's in place. There's a lot of stuff that I can see that you've changed from the typical arena survivor. And that's really cool. I really like that everything is based on the idea of moving all at once. I love that it's turn-based. You know, I hate turn-based games personally, but this one's so much fun because it's contextualized in the idea that it's chess. You know, I think that's really, really interesting. I even think like a checkers movement would be really cool in like an action game set like this. So the idea that I want to say is, or a question that I want to ask is why did you make the game? You know, I want to see that answered in the game itself, right? I want to play the game and be like, oh, I get it, right? I want to play the game and be like, this is an experience that I want to do. I want to play this game and then share it with others, you know. And that's what makes games interesting, is that people are sharing experiences that are more than just, you know, their spin on something else. And that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see more of, and just every game really. But that's what Dev Brew here is about. It's about trying to figure that out. So the last thing I want to talk about here, in my very long stream of 25 minutes, this needs to be longer, man. The last thing I want to talk about is the player's perspective. Guy says, "Ha, that was me, I guess." What was you? One of the things from the player's perspective is what I want to understand. So I think I asked this in this game submission form about what kind of experience you want to deliver, and usually people just say the description of their game, like, I want to deliver a platformer. I'm like, okay, well you did that. But maybe I should change that question. The idea is, from the player's perspective, what is it that you want them to experience, right? And in this game, if you had to break it down that way, and the reason why I want to talk about this is because this really does hone in the message, or at least for me it does. Like, when I think about film school, when I was in film school, there was this question that always got to me, and it was, why did you make this film, right? And whenever I would get to that question, it would just absolutely lose me, because I'm like, well, I made this film because I wanted to make it, right? That's what most filmmakers would say at that moment, is I made this because I wanted to. There's nothing more than that. But that's not the point of the question. The point of it is to realize from the viewer's perspective why this film exists in the first place. Guy says, you said that the reason the game was submitted was because someone told Aramis submitted it on the stream. Yeah. Yeah, that was you. Thank you for doing that, though, because this is quite an interesting experience. I'm glad my horizons have been increased, you know, because of people like you. So thank you so much, Guy. This was great. Yeah. So the idea of asking why you made something, right? Why did you choose to do this? Why did you choose to do that? Is because it puts in your mind that other choices could have been made, right? I could have made other choices. Like, for example, when I'm making a movie, and I give a scene to someone, let's say, you know, I shot a 2-shot conversation of someone in a coffee shop, and I left, you know, their backpacks in the background or whatever. I just wasn't thinking about it. Turn that into the teacher, and they say, hey, so why are those backpacks in the background? What does that mean? And thinking about it, I would be like, well, I didn't mean to do that. It's just in there. But then if I keep thinking about it, I'm like, well, I guess the backpacks could have been there on purpose, and that could have done something, or I could have changed them out for something else, or I could have taken them away. And it's like this idea of introducing elements into something by way of design, like, it does something to the communication, right? It does something to your communication to other people. So when I'm asking from the player's perspective, what is it that you wanted to achieve here? I hope to put into your mind these different things that you're thinking, okay, well, I guess, you know, the types of gems that I put in, or the types of attacks that I put in, wanted to communicate this to the player, or whatever. The feeling that maybe the turn-based thing wanted to communicate this to the player, or whatever. I don't know. That's just the kind of thought process that I want you to have. Just something that I think I would find helpful. So when I look at like something like this, I want it to have more turn-based feel. I want it to have less of a timed feeling to it, and I feel like that's something that's pulling me away from the experience. Yeah, something to talk about there, something to think about there, I guess, not talk about. Yeah, so that's the first. That's the overall message that I had here, and that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. But I did want to talk about some of the more fine design points here, because there's a lot of design in here that I think is really good and on the right track. One specific thing I wanted to talk about was the introduction. So I know with Arena, actually this is great. This is a really good one. So if we look at Vampire Survivors has such an awesome intro design. And like I said, I didn't play this game. I literally bought this game just so I could study it for the purposes of making this Dev Brew. So while we're here, look, this is the very beginning of the screen right here, right, of Vampire Survivors. And what we have is a character selection screen. We have one character that's highlighted and then 3 other characters that are silhouetted, meaning they're probably not available. So you look down at the bottom here and they change depending on who you're highlighting, right? It's a very simple thing. Can I move this? I can't move it. There we go. Yeah, so boom, right there. I just changed my selection and it changed down there. And they stay silhouetted, which is pretty cool. This all has something to do with a point, I swear. So as the button even changes right here from confirm to unlock. So you can see that those are the characters that you can't have yet. So the point here is that you can only select one character, and so you do that. And the character has a single weapon, and that weapon is the whip. And so as you're moving throughout the space, you see that the whip is firing by itself, and there's things that attack you and hurt you, and so you go ahead and try to attack them with this automatic whip firing thing, and now you can pick up gems. And all of that right there, man, all of that was a simple, very, very like step-by-step process to introduce the player to everything they need to know. They now know that each character has a specific weapon type that they begin with. They know that the weapons automatically fire. They know that they have to collect gems, and they know that while in this arena area, the point is to kill enemies, collect gems, and get upgrades. Like, that was all taught within the first, 30 seconds of the game. So that's something that was really interesting in Vampire Survivors that I had not seen before, because I played a clone of this game first. It's something that they could have used also. That game was, I already talked about it, Dope Mine Arena. But yeah, that's something that I think would be able to help this game out too in Chess Survivors. In Chess Survivors, as I've said before, the intro is, or I guess I haven't said this before, the intro is very bare bones. I mean, because it is, just a basic game right here, a basic concept, not a basic game. Where you begin with a choose your character thing, and it has these little stats right here, the health, melee damage, and base movement. It gives me a bunch of stuff to think about that I don't know yet. As I'm playing this game, I have not played a single thing yet, so I have no context for these things. And then as I try to choose other characters, they even have more different stats that I have no idea. This is the second time I'm playing the game on the screen, so I'm familiar with everything already. But to get that intro, to get that, really simple, here's the thing, that Vampire Survivors did, I want to be able to see that, in Chess Survivors. And having, your starting ability and your starting relic and your starting character, all these things are things that the player already needs to know. And I know that you have a question mark up here, but it also, I did select it, and I didn't feel like I understood it even, anymore. But again, I know this is an early game, so it's, it's not finished by any means. But it's just something to think about, to tutorialize, I guess, your first part there. But the point is that it doesn't require that much effort. It's just some stuff that you need, and that's it. Yeah, so that's basically, I guess, everything I want to talk about. So thank you so much for submitting this game, Aramis. I had fun trying to figure out what to talk about. I hope I in some way, at least jogged your mind in a way to think about this game. So I thought it was a lot of fun to play. There was moments in this game that I was confused, but mainly I liked what I was doing. I like playing as the character here, the Jester. I like the different types of upgrades that you have. In fact, one of the things I thought you should know was the moments that I felt connected, that I felt like there was a lot of fun happening, was when I had like the yo-yo. I love the sound effect for the yo-yo. Yo-yo-yo. It's so funny. Those types of weapons where they're just firing around you, I thought it was so fun to be able to kill the pieces in that way, because it felt like I was cheating. And I really like that aspect where I'm in a an area that I'm understanding. It's a chessboard, but I can kill enemies using weapons, right? And that's just so interesting to me. Anyway, so that's just a thing that I want to talk about, and I'm glad that you submitted this game to me. So thank you so much for being here. And I do have my coffee, by the way. I just haven't drank it on stream. It takes too long to drink coffee on stream. Thanks, Guy, for commenting here. Yeah, I love doing this thing. I hope to go again pretty soon. We'll do the week after next. This is a every other week thing. So thanks again, and